Guys, welcome to Florida's Treasure Coast Market Update. Today, we're going to get in depth on HOAs.
You better get fired up.
All right, guys, appreciate you joining me. Today, we're going to talk about the difference in, let's say, price, but it's not going to be just price. There's going to be more to it. Price, maybe monthly cost would be a better way to say it, right? Monthly cost in HOA properties versus non-HOA properties, right? We're going to look at a couple different things. Specifically, what is the average price per square foot, right? What do you expect to pay in an HOA versus not in an HOA? And what are the typical HOA fees? Because you got to add that in as well, right? And what that's going to tell you is when you look at those two numbers combined, what you're paying extra to be in an HOA on average. And then you can simply say, hey, is that amount worth it or not? In the amenities that I get, right? Maybe I get security through the gate up front, and I get a pool, and I get a clubhouse, and I get my lawn mowed and cable and internet and whatever. It's either worth it for you or it's not, right? So we're going to get into that today. Whether you're watching on YouTube or on Facebook, I appreciate you joining us today. If you've got any questions or comments, I will be looking at, and I'm about to show it to you, the MLS here. But when I get back from running the numbers here, we'll come back and we'll answer any questions you guys have. So first thing we're going to do is I'm going to come in and we're going to look at Port St. Lucie. And I want to, did it get it in there? It did. We're going to look at sold properties. And we'll look since the beginning of the year, right? That gives us a pretty decent amount of data, certainly enough data. So in Port St. Lucie, and we're going to come down to, let's just look at single family homes only. Because if we don't, we're going to have condos and townhouses skewing those numbers a little bit. So we've got 1,000, you can see right up here on the top left, right? We got 1,098 sales in Port St. Lucie. That's single family home sales. So now what we're going to do, I better grab a pen and paper here. We got 1,098 sales. I want to break that down in HOA versus non-HOA. So what we're going to do, we're going to add field. And they've got, I'm going to show you here. You'll see when I look up HOAs, they've got what's called mandatory, none, and voluntary. Voluntary is usually a smaller HOA, and they'll charge you maybe $5, $10, $15 a month, something like that. And it's to maintain a small area in that HOA. That's not every HOA, but that's most of the voluntaries. There's not a ton of them, but I don't want to include them in these stats because they are HOAs, but they're also not HOAs in the typical way that we think of HOAs. So I don't want those stats to be involved at all. I'm going to look at straight, yes, they are full HOAs of some sort, or no, they have nothing to do with an HOA at all, right? So we're going to come in here, and the first thing we're going to look at is none. So these are homes in Port St. Lucie that are not in HOAs. So we've got 721 sales since the beginning of the year that were not in HOAs. I'm going to pull up my trusty calculator. I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but when I go 721 divided by 1,098, that's 66%, or almost exactly, it's just a hair short of 2/3 of the properties are not in HOAs, right? So that'll give you an idea of what's being sold here in Port St. Lucie. So now looking at these numbers, we've got 721 sales. Let's go in and look at, I'm going to come to list. Come on. You got to rub it a little. There we go. All right. And we're going to come to sold price per square foot descending. So we're putting it in order. Now, if there are 721 sales, what's that? 360. So the 361st property would be the middle one, right? I want to see what that middle, that median price per square foot is. So we're coming down to number 2. No, I got to say it again. 361. All right, and I'll show you how I'm finding that number here in just a second. You can see over in this left column, it puts them in order. So number 361 is this one right here, 1297 Southwest Ackerd Avenue, and the median is 214.87, okay? 214.87 median price per square foot. Okay, cool. So we've got that number. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to edit search. And we are instead going to come down to mandatory. So these are all properties that are absolutely in HOAs. We've got 279, as you can see in the top left corner. And I want to put this in here too. The 279 we got plus the 721 that were not in HOAs. That's not correct. Oh, I see what I did. 721 plus 279. That's 1,000. So there were 98 properties that sold that were involuntary, just for any nerds out there who want to know. So what's that, 8-9% of properties? It's not very many, right? Okay, so we got 279. So what we're going to look at now is, first of all, I want to do the same thing. Well, we're looking at the median sold price per square foot. We already got a problem, right? Some of these people are not entering the data correctly, so it's not going to be 100% accurate. So what I'm going to do is, crap. Instead of looking at 279, how many are there? 7. That's 272. So we're not going to look at those. We're going to take them out just in case. So we're looking at, out of 272, that is 136 and 137. So the average of 136 and 137, let's put them in. Okay, but then we've got to add. So let's do it this way. I think that's already how I had it. Yeah, I did. So we'll do it this way. So the average of 136 and 137 is going to be our median, right? So I'm coming down to 136, 137 is 229.84. So that's 16, that's 50 cents. So add a quarter, and you're looking at 230.09. Okay, 230.09. So let's look at a calculator here. 230.09 is the median price per square foot, sold price on an HOA property, minus the 214.87 that you're seeing on non-HOA properties. That's $15 a square foot. Now, I'm just going to ask you to trust me on this. The average square footage home in Port St. Lucie is 1,800 and something square feet, right? We're just going to call it 1,850. So 1,522 times 1,850, that means you're paying $28,000, $28,157 to be exact, more for exactly the same home on average in an HOA versus not in an HOA. You're paying more to be in an HOA, and we haven't even talked about all the extra fees that you're going to have in an HOA. By the way, I say this as a guy who lives in an HOA, but tradition, for example, you've got 2 fees you might have to pay up front one time. Well, you've actually got more than that now that I think about it. You've got what's called a community enhancement fee that tradition charges you. It's 0.77% of the cost. So let's say you're getting into, right now, the median cost. Well, let's just take that 1,850 times, if you're in an HOA, you're looking at 230.09 a square foot. Boom, you're up 4.25, right? So on your 425,000 home, 425 times 0.077, I think it's 0.0077, but we'll see it. Yeah, you're paying $3,272 to tradition just to bolster their reserves, right? So you're paying that community enhancement fee to go towards the community. In addition to that, you're going to have the subordinate HOAs like Bedford Park or Vitalia or whoever. They might charge another fee on top of that. It could be as little as $200-$400. It could be as much as 2-3 months of your HOA dues. So, typically you're looking kind of in that $700 to $1,200 range. So you're at about $4,000 roughly in fees if you're in tradition, and depending upon the subordinate HOA you're in, just to get in there, right? And then you got application fees that you don't have if you're in an HOA. You might have background check fees. You got all kinds of fees going on to get into these things. Now, again, I love my HOA. I'm glad I paid it. I knew I was paying it. I happily paid it. But if you don't want to pay all those fees, maybe you're short on cash up front, HOAs may not be what you want to go after right now. Let's look at one more thing. That's going to be, and I want to put this in order, your HOA monthly, okay? I want to make sure, though, that this has been filled in for all of them. So you can see on the high end, we've got 3 properties where the monthly HOA was over $600. We got 610, 618, and 662. In fact, let's come in and just take a look. Okay, this is Tesoro. This is Riverland. And this is Tesoro, right? So Tesoro is a little bit on the pricier end. Not a little bit. It is on the pricier end. Now let's look at some of the lower end. So we got some, and these are going to be, I don't want to get into them because I don't think, if you're looking for an association, you're not going to be seeking out these properties. You're going to find the properties and like them and find out that, oh, there's a $15 a month fee. So some of these properties have a 14, 16, 17, 18, 20, 25, 25, Dollar monthly HOA fee. In fact, 27 out of the 279, which is almost exactly 10%, are at less than $100, which is interesting, right? So what is the median HOA cost per month, the HOA fee, right? So I'm going to need to find 135 and 4 is 139. I got to find the 140th one right here. $345, right? So if you want to live in an HOA, on average, your HOA fee every single month is going to be $345, right? And then on top of that, you're spending, now I forgot what the difference was. Was it 23,000? 230.09 minus 214. And again, I'm running numbers on average square footage of 1850. If you're looking at a bigger home, this difference is going to be even more. It was 28,000. So in addition to that, you're paying 28,000 extra on the price, which I figure about $65 to $70 a month per $10,000 you spent. So let's take this times, we'll even go on the lower end, 65,000. You're looking at an additional $183 a month in payment because you paid roughly $28,000 more for an 1,850 square foot home. So you're looking at 183. This is going to be just a hair over $500 if my math is correct. On a typical average Port St. Lucie HOA home, apples to apples, right? The average house in an HOA, the average home not in an HOA, the HOA is going to cost you $528 a month on average, more than the home outside of the HOA. And you might have to pay those upfront community enhancement fees, right? So there you go. There's some helpful numbers. Hopefully, you might look at this and say, Joe, does that mean I shouldn't live in an HOA? Again, I love living in my HOA, man. I do not want to invest time working on my yard. I'd rather come in here and do videos with you guys, help the community, sell some homes, get my business going. I love doing that stuff. If I've got to pay someone to take care of my lawn and my shrubs and to make our community look beautiful, I love that. I love that my neighbors can't have old rusty pickup trucks out front. I love that somebody can't paint their house neon pink. I like that stuff. If you like that stuff, you might want to pay for that too. If you don't care about that stuff, then you probably want to live outside of an HOA. I will say, if I ask a buyer in one of my first conversations, hey, are you siding more towards living in an HOA or not living in an HOA? Or would you say that you're kind of up for both? Probably 8 or 9 out of 10 have a very distinct, I do want to be in one or I do not want to be in one. It's very rare to hear someone say, I don't know, let's look at both. That's pretty rare, right? So guys, there you go. There's some numbers. Again, if you have any questions or comments on this or an idea for next week's video, we do this every single Wednesday, same time, 12:30. You can find us on YouTube at thejoerosenshow.com, or of course, you can find us on Facebook on my personal page, or on the Joe Rosen Show, which is our business page. Guys, I appreciate you joining me. Have an absolutely phenomenal rest of your week. Take care.